Good Day Austin on Fox 7.
Well, coming up a little bit later this week, Congressman Lloyd Doggett will be in Washington leading a committee hearing that's been entitled More Cures for More Patients, Overcoming Pharmaceutical Barriers. He's joining us this morning to talk about that, plus a couple other issues. Washington, always a very busy place, of course. Congressman, thank you so much for coming in.
So good to join you.
Let's talk a little bit about your hearing coming up a little bit later in the week. What is the overall focus?
Well, I've been focused for the last several years on what we can do to bring down prescription drug cost. There are too many people that I hear from that are having to cut their pills in half, trying to take longer to take the dosage. Some people have lost their lives and who are dependent on insulin, for example, where the price has just soared. So I've had legislation to try to have Medicare negotiate these prices down the way the Veterans Administration does. This week's hearing will focus I serve as chairman of the Health Subcommittee, and we'll focus on another issue, and that's these ads we see on television where it says, if you can't afford your drugs, call Big Pharma Company X and maybe we can help. And what we've discovered is that 97% of the help that is provided there goes to people who have insurance already. It's really more of a marketing scheme by these companies to promote sales of their particular drug rather than to help those who are most vulnerable. So I'll be focusing on that, as well as some of the tax dodges that have been created by the Congress in the past to help big pharmaceutical companies shift their profits and production offshore and provide less help to people here at home.
It is such a broad topic. We know nothing can be a budget buster than a medical issue with no matter what your financial situation is. So it is important to help, and yet those companies at times, obviously the money is how they innovate as well. So striking that balance is such a tough thing to do.
There's a tension.
Yeah.
And you know, all of us want to find a cure to a new disease before we or a loved one get it.
Yeah.
We want to encourage innovation.
Then you got to be able to buy it.
But then you've got to be able to buy it. That innovation doesn't do you any good if you can't afford the drug. And we are paying higher prices here in the United States than almost any place else in the world. I believe that there's more that can be done to bring down the prices. President Trump campaigned on that. And I've continued to say, if President Trump would just follow the advice of candidate Trump, we'd get where we need to be. He has not. He has failed, despite comments to the contrary, to bring down any drug prices. I hope he will work with us in the future to take constructive action to bring down the prescription price gouging that's been occurring.
Yeah, and seeing some of this cooperative effort, especially with some of the pharmaceutical companies you have in, that might be a way forward regardless of what the laws of the land are in terms of health care coverage in our country. Obviously, that's a debate that's going on. This could be, to a degree, a separate discussion.
It could be.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, obviously, so much news out of Washington. You're following the impeachment hearings and the Senate after the Congress.
You know, I'm following it very closely. I think it's very unfortunate that the Senate took the position it did to not hear from witnesses or get documents. I know here on Fox you have many followers who are strong supporters of President Trump, and I respect that. I know there are many good people. They love America just as much as I do, though I think the Senate should have gone the other way. What I would say to many of them is, does it make our country stronger to have a president who says the Constitution allows him to do whatever he wants, that he cannot, not only can he not be arrested, he cannot even be investigated for any kind of crime while he is President of the United States? I think that is an all-powerful president to the disregard of the other branches of government that does not serve us well. And then there's the question of open borders. I hear about that, I'm sure, from some of your viewers. The borders that I want to close are those who would come and interfere in our election this year. I think it shouldn't only be America first. I think it should be America only when it comes to our elections. No Chinese, no Russians, no Ukrainians, no Iranians influencing our election. And that is a principal issue here when the president calls out for these other countries to get involved and help in our election. I think it distorts our democracy.
Obviously, that talk will certainly keep going as the campaign season goes on. In terms of the Senate trial, your feeling's very clear. Did it surprise you that it went this way?
It surprised me, particularly after John Bolton, a long-term, determined Republican who I have disagreed with regularly, came forward, and then these disclosures from his book, and he is the national security advisor right there next to the president, and he says he has concern that the president was making, in addition to Ukraine, was doing things, for example, in Turkey, where he owns some property, to help this Turkish dictator and with the Chinese, that these were not in our national interest, and that this was not just about one call saying, do me a favor, though. It was him personally, Bolton, being asked by the president to use our influence, our tax dollars, to try to help the president get reelected. I know he relied on the Russians last time. He's hoping to get help again this time. Let's have this American election determined by Americans, not by those who would interfere with. They don't have our best interest at heart.
Yeah, certainly we're going to see the election season get kicking, I guess, today up in
right
Iowa.
away.
And we'll keep an eye on things up in Washington as well, Congressman Doggett.
And it's great to hear from your viewers.